Okay, let's dive in. We've got some really interesting sources you shared, all focused on IO.net. The plan today is to kind of cut through it all and give you, the listener, a solid, useful picture of what this project is actually doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're stepping into the world of decentralized AI compute, cloud platforms, but decentralized. The core mission, based on these materials, seems to be creating this like global network for compute power,
Yeah.
accessible to everyone.
And the big problem they're tackling, I mean, it's something anyone in AI feels right now, isn't it? This huge shortage and the, frankly, crippling cost of the GPUs you need for AI and machine learning.
Exactly. Yeah, AI development has just exploded,
Right.
and the demand for GPUs, especially the powerful ones, it's just gone through the roof. And in the traditional public cloud, that causes bottlenecks, scarcity, long waiting lists, not much choice in hardware, and costs that just, well, they stop smaller teams in their tracks.
Right. So how does IO.net actually plan to fix this? What's their core value proposition according to the sources?
Well, their approach is pretty smart, actually. They're aiming to get around that scarcity by pooling together underutilized GPUs from places you might not expect. We're talking independent data centers with spare capacity, maybe crypto farms where the rigs aren't busy, potentially even like regular consumers' machines.
Huh. So instead of building massive new data centers, which is super expensive,
Yeah,
they're tapping into compute power that already exists but isn't being used.
exactly. That makes a lot of sense for scaling up and keeping costs down.
And the materials mention some pretty dramatic potential cost savings, right? Like a big number.
They do, yeah. A key benefit they really push is providing compute at way lower costs. The sources mention figures up to 90% less than some of the big centralized guys. The whole idea is affordable, flexible access. Permissionless, too. Get your hands on serious compute without breaking the bank.
Wow, up to 90%. That's a headline number. Is that across the board or for specific kinds of computing jobs?
Well, based on the sources, that figure seems tied to using that aggregated supply, which often has lower overhead, right, for tasks that fit that model.
Yeah.
Savings will probably vary, but the core idea is finding cheaper sources than the hyperscalers. It's about making it accessible, especially if you need bursts of power or you're really watching the budget.
Got it. Yeah. Making high-end compute affordable could really change things for startups, researchers, maybe even individuals tinkering with AI. Okay, let's dig into the network itself. How's this distributed thing actually structured?
So the foundation is this decentralized physical infrastructure network, or DPIN. They call it the IOG Network, Internet of GPUs. It's made up of all these hardware nodes independently run, spread out geographically.
And IO.net is the company building the software layer on top of that network, making it usable.
Precisely. IO.net builds the platform and the tools. Like IO Cloud lets you virtualize and scale up GPU clusters using the network's combined power. And IO Worker is the interface for the suppliers, the people providing the GPUs, to connect their nodes and manage them.
Okay, so a decentralized hardware base and then a platform on top. Makes sense. The sources also say this network is specifically built for certain AI and ML tasks. What are those key functions and why are those the important ones for the ML process?
Yeah, they list 4 core things, really built for modern AI workloads. First is batch inference and model serving. This is basically taking an AI model you've already trained and getting it ready to make predictions or give responses, but at scale, often running bits in parallel across many machines.
Right, so you build a cool AI model. This is how you actually let lots of people use it at the same time without it falling over.
Exactly. And doing that on a distributed network potentially handles way bigger loads than just one server could. Second, parallel training. You know how training big AI models takes ages and tons of power.
Oh, yeah. Days, weeks sometimes.
Right. So this lets you break that massive training job down and spread it across lots of GPUs working together, speeds things up dramatically.
Tackling those memory limits and time issues you hit on a single machine.
Exactly. They use distributed computing libraries to manage training across potentially hundreds or thousands of devices. Third is parallel hyperparameter tuning. Think of hyperparameters as like the settings knobs on your AI model.
Okay.
Finding the best combination of settings takes a lot of experimenting. You run the training many times with slightly different settings. That process is naturally parallel, perfect for spreading across the network to find the optimal setup way faster.
Gotcha. Finding the sweet spot for your model without waiting forever.
Yep. And finally, reinforcement learning. This is the AI technique used for training systems to make sequences of decisions. Think training game AI or robotics. These tasks can also be spread out and need a lot of compute, which the platform is set up to handle. So these 4 things, Inference, training, tuning, RL. They cover really critical, really compute-heavy parts of the whole AI development lifecycle.
Yeah, it sounds like they're targeting the real bottlenecks, the parts most constrained by GPU costs and availability. Okay, let's shift gears to the token, the IO token. What's its role in this whole ecosystem?
Right, the IO token. It's the native utility token, and according to the sources, it basically does three main things.
Okay, first is payments, I assume.
Yes, exactly. It's the currency for pretty much everything happening on the network. So users pay in IO tokens to rent compute time or deploy their clusters. And the suppliers, the people providing the GPUs, they get paid in IO.
Makes sense. Facilitates the whole market. And it's used for security somehow. Staking.
Correct. Through staking. Users can lock up their IO tokens to help secure the network, make it more robust, and they earn rewards for doing that. You can either delegate your tokens to someone already running a node, or if you're running a node yourself, you stake your own tokens.
Ah, okay. So you contribute to network health and earn something back. What's the third function?
Governance. Holding IO tokens gives you a say in the project's direction, specifically through something called the IO Grants DAO. Token holders can propose, discuss, and then vote on how funds are allocated for grants and, other strategic decisions for the whole network foundation.
So it's the money, the security deposit, and the voting ballot all rolled into one token.
Pretty much, yeah. It ties the community directly into the network's success and future.
The sources also mentioned a pretty big ecosystem growing around this, something like over 50 partners. That sounds like decent traction.
Yeah, that number stood out.
Can we maybe look at a few examples just to get a feel for who's involved, maybe split it, like who's supplying the compute versus who's using it?
Sure, good idea. On the supply side, you've got partners like aggregates. They're bringing serious hardware onto the network, those high-end NVIDIA H100s, A100s.
Okay, so professional grade stuff, the kind everyone wants for heavy AI training.
Exactly. That's important for attracting demanding users. Then there's Hivium. They apparently provide access to a huge network of crypto mining gear, potentially 10 million GPU rigs, the sources say.
Whoa, 10 million, tapping into that much idle hardware? That's where the scale argument really hits, isn't it? That existing decentralized base.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this supply side part gets even more interesting. There's Aurora. They're a gaming studio.
Okay.
They're not just using IO.net for, AI-powered game characters. They're looking at encouraging their gamers, their community, to connect their PCs and become worker nodes for IO.net when they're not gaming.
Wait, seriously, turning idle gaming rigs into part of an AI compute network? That's actually a pretty cool idea. Talk about tapping unconventional resources.
Right. It really shows the potential for finding supply in unexpected places. Okay, now shifting to the demand side. Who's using this compute? We see AI companies like Krea. They're an AI design tool, apparently have like 250,000 users. They're using IO.net for the heavy lifting, like real-time image and video generation.
Ah, okay. So creative tools that need that burst of affordable power on demand. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of activity in the Web3 space too, like Nibiru, which is a layer 1 blockchain. They're using IO.net clusters to power AI-driven decentralized apps, dApps, and also for zero-knowledge proof stuff, ZK provers.
ZK proofs. Right. Those are computationally intensive.
Very. And similarly, Space and Time, a decentralized data warehouse, they're using IO.net to help scale their ZK-proof generation.
So it's not just general AI, it's becoming a key piece of infrastructure for specific demanding tasks within Web3 itself. Looks like a key market for them.
It certainly seems that way. And one more. Quasi Network, another blockchain, is partnering with IO.net specifically to use its decentralized GPUs to help secure their own network. They're trying to link their currency value directly to compute and energy. What's kind of fascinating here is just seeing all the different angles. Projects are finding really unique ways to plug this decentralized compute in powering apps, securing chains, speeding up proofs.
Yeah, these examples definitely paint a clearer picture of how it's being used in the real world, not just theory. Okay, let's wrap this up by looking at where the project stands now. The sources gave some status updates and metrics as of early June 2024.
Yeah, they listed several milestones they've hit. Completed their seed funding, partnered with folks like Render. They've demoed the tech at big events like Ray Summit and Solana Breakpoint. They also launched BC8.ai, which is like a decentralized platform for ML models, and even picked up an award, the Inventions Asia Award.
Okay, so clearly busy building and getting the word out. What about funding and the token specifics?
Funding-wise, they've raised $40 million US through private sales, and the latest round valued the company at $1 billion USD.
$1 billion valuation.
Okay.
And the token numbers? Max supply, circulating supply.
Right. The sources state a fixed maximum supply of 800 million IO tokens. At the launch, the TGE, the initial Genesis supply, was 500 million. And the initial circulating supply, the amount available right at listing, was 95 million IO tokens. That's 19% of the Genesis supply.
Got it. 95 million circulating out of 500 million initially created, with a max cap of 800 million eventually. And sources mentioned Binance launch pool.
Yes, starting June 7th, 2024, with 20 million tokens allocated for that.
Okay, great. That gives us a really solid snapshot based on the materials shared, their journey, current scale, and how the token fits in.
So yeah, just to quickly recap, IO.net is basically building this big decentralized network, trying to solve the AI world's GPU crunch by pooling together unused power from all over the globe.
Right, making it cheaper and easier to access. And the IO token is key for payments, for network security via staking, and for letting the community steer the ship through governance.
Exactly. And maybe this leaves you, the listener, with something to think about. If sourcing serious compute power from, kind of random places like gaming PCs or old crypto farms actually works and becomes a big thing, how could that change the game? Not just in who can afford to build powerful AI, but maybe even the whole shape, the resilience, the geography of AI infrastructure itself in the future, something to mull over.